What if we use the RTX 5070 to play the latest games on an ultrawide 3440 by 1440p monitor? Is it possible to get a pleasant experience, or is this resolution a little bit too much to handle for the RTX 5070? Let's find out. To test this, I'm using the MSI VENTUS 2X version of the RTX 5070 paired with the Ryzen 7 9800X3D CPU as part of the Be Quiet PC build powered by MSI. And we'll be experiencing the games today on one of the best monitors for the job. This is the MSI 341CQP 175Hz QD OLED panel. By the way, if you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, you can find them on Amazon at the links in the description below. First up, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let's take a look at the settings. We are at native 3440 by 1440p resolution. Field of view is set to 100. There is no resolution upscaling. We are using NVIDIA's DLAA, native AA, okay? No frame generation for now, but we'll take a look at that later. And the graphics settings are set to Optimised, courtesy of Digital Foundry. And here it goes. We are using diffuse everywhere ray traced global illumination, ray tracing quality medium, BVH quality medium, and the rest of the settings you can take a look at them right now on the screen. Most of them are set to high, and there are some ultra high settings as well and very high, which means that we are still preserving a fairly high level of detail in the game. I already tested this set of settings, and I must say that I like how the game looks. Indeed, the game still looks fantastic using the optimized set of settings. The lighting, the shadows, everything else in the game looks beautiful. You'll be hard-pressed to notice any significant difference between the absolute highest graphics quality settings and these optimized settings without actually putting them side by side and pixel pipping to find out what's going on. The only major difference is probably the reflections, which are a part of ray tracing. But yeah, that takes up a lot of resources that we don't actually have on the RTX 5070, unfortunately. For this resolution, it's a little bit too much. Take a look at that. We're getting 40 plus FPS in most cases at native resolution. So yeah, this is not a good start, is it? We need to make some adjustments, and fortunately, we can still utilize resolution upscaling to boost our FPS without downgrading the image quality too much. Let's go ahead and do that. DLSS Quality mode. Let's go. Oh yes, thank you very much. Close to 60 FPS. This is pretty good. I actually thought that we won't be able to get a playable experience in this game on the RTX 5070, but it turns out that I'm wrong, because this is already pretty good. And even though 50 plus FPS is not particularly great for the ultra-wide experience, because lower frame rates look a little bit worse on the ultra-wide monitor compared to a regular 16:9, at least to me, to my eyes. It just feels that the image is a little bit too choppy. That's why I like having well above 60 FPS when I'm playing on the ultra-wide monitor. Fortunately, there is a way to rectify this issue without lowering the resolution quality even further, because we already have something like 60-ish FPS, which is okay to actually enable frame generation. Let's go ahead and do that. Ignore the 1% lows, they are not reported correctly. I can confirm that the image looks absolutely smooth and pleasant. And look at that, we're getting above 90 FPS in most scenes which is perfect for the ultra-wide experience. Yes, this looks and feels nice. Beautiful experience. Okay. So it is very much possible to enjoy Assassin's Creed Shadows, one of the most demanding games to date, on the RTX 5070, even whilst using ray tracing. That is pretty good. That said, it is still quite sad that we have to use frame generation on top of the resolution upscaling to get to this point, but it is the way it is right now. That's the market. There's very little competition, especially when it comes to resolution upscaling tech. Unfortunately, FSR 4 is not being adopted at a fast enough rate. For example, it's not available in this game. Even through Adrenaline AMD Overdrive feature, it is still not available. And that makes me sad because I really like the new AMD graphics cards, the RX 9070 and the 9070 XT. Brilliant GPUs, but they're very much held back by the lack of adoption of FSR 4. Because even if you don't need resolution upscaling, FSR 4 still delivers a much better quality anti-aliasing solution, because FSR 3.1 anti-aliasing solution, as well as TAA, and all the other ones for that matter, with the exception of NVIDIA's DLAA and Intel's CSS, yeah, those look absolutely horrible compared to what DLAA looks now and FSR 4. These new anti-aliasing features are just on a whole different level. Let's see if we can get a good enough performance whilst using diffuse plus specular everywhere that adds ray-traced reflections, which look quite nice. Wow, this is actually better than I expected. We're not losing that much performance by using ray-traced reflections. And I must say that they do indeed look beautiful in this game. They're introducing more realism to this game, which is very much appreciated because this is a beautiful looking game in many ways. So I think that we should actually use ray-traced reflections. Yeah, this is pretty good. I think this is good enough. The controls feel responsive, which means that the base frame rate is good enough. Probably at 50 to 60 FPS still, but let's check it out just in case. Let's disable frame generation and see what the base frame rate is. Indeed, as I thought, it is 50 to 60 FPS. Let's go to one of the locations where there's some reflections by the river, by the water. Yes, we're still getting above 50 FPS. That's nice. Definitely enable reflections. This looks beautiful. Say what you will about the RTX 5070, but it turns out that it can handle ray tracing pretty well in the latest games, if it is done right. Obviously, we won't be able to take advantage of path tracing, which is also called full ray tracing nowadays, but we don't really need to, because even without path tracing, games can look phenomenal. And Assassin's Creed Shadows is a living proof of that. Oh, look at that. That's a cat without a tail. Oh, and I can pet it. Can I? Come on. I clicked on it. And it went away. Well, I guess it's similar to real life, right? Cats don't always like to be pet by strangers. Oh, there we go. Cute. Okay. Nice. Cyberpunk 2077 is the perfect game to demonstrate the full ray tracing capabilities of the RTX 5070, and why I was saying that full ray tracing is pretty much impossible to use on the 70 class GPUs. Even the 5090 struggles to deliver a pleasant experience using full ray tracing, which is called ray tracing overdrive in Cyberpunk. But let's take a look at that, shall we? We'll use DLSS Quality mode right away, because why not? And no frame generation, and we'll also use field of view 90, because 100 is a little bit too much. It's not comfortable to use on an ultra-wide monitor. And we'll turn off film grain, motion blur, all of these things that blur the image. They must go. Surprisingly, we can actually get above 30 FPS, which means that we can still check out what full ray tracing is all about. But obviously it is not a comfortable frame rate to actually play the game. I don't know, maybe for some people, but definitely not for me. I do not enjoy 30 FPS. Nah, no way. Without a doubt, full ray tracing looks and feels amazing in this game. But damn, the RTX 5070 just doesn't have enough ray tracing cores to handle it. It is unfortunate, but full ray tracing is very far from becoming mainstream purely because lower-end GPUs can't handle it. But lower ray tracing presets actually look quite nice as well. Let's take a look at Ray Tracing Ultra preset. Maybe we can get a playable experience using that, and DLSS stays on quality mode. See? This performance is much better. We're now getting 60-ish FPS, which is quite enjoyable because we are reaching close to 70 in some scenes. Very nice. And we can still experience some of the most beautiful ray tracing elements, the lighting, the reflections. Everything looks pretty darn good. Take a look at that. Reflections, they're still there, and they still look very nice indeed. So you don't need full ray tracing. You can just use other types of ray tracing, and the RTX 5070 is more than capable of delivering a smooth, pleasant experience with ray tracing enabled, even at some of the highest presets, such as Ultra over here. Obviously, this is not the most pleasant experience for a first-person game. 50 plus FPS is not how I want to play this game. So let's check out frame generation. Maybe we can actually get a pleasant experience using that. We'll go for the 2x mode, which means that one frame is being generated per every real frame. Oh, ray reconstruction was off for some reason. This feature doesn't cost pretty much anything to run, so let's enable that, because it does improve ray tracing image quality. Once again, ignore the 1% lows, because that is not reported correctly. I can tell you that this is a perfectly smooth experience, and we're actually getting close to 90 FPS. Yeah, this is pretty nice. In terms of controls responsiveness, this is good enough. My mouse feels responsive enough to actually just do a nice pan right there and aim exactly where I want to aim. I have no complaints about the responsiveness of the controls. 50 plus FPS seems to be working quite well in terms of frame generation. And of course you can generate more frames. You can go for the 3x or the 4x mode and get even higher frame rate. But you'll be missing out on some of the image quality. The higher modes of frame generation, they amplify some of the visual issues that are present on the screen. DLSS is not perfect, and especially you can notice that around the edges of the characters. Yeah, the 2x mode looks pretty good to me. I use it pretty much all the time, and it delivers a high enough frame rate. I think this is a pretty good ray tracing experience, which means that the RTX 5070 gets a pass in Cyberpunk 2077 from me. But also, I know that some of you want to see no ray tracing performance, so let's go ahead and do that next. Ultra graphics quality preset, no ray tracing, and let's go ahead and select native resolution using NVIDIA's DLAA. We'll turn off frame generation, of course, because we want to see the true native performance. You see, even without ray tracing, we still need to use resolution upscaling in this game if we want to play it with maxed out settings. Yeah, native resolution is not an option to run on the RTX 5070 at this resolution. 40 plus FPS. Not good enough, so let's go ahead and enable that DLSS resolution upscaling. Let's select quality mode. There we go, 90 plus FPS. Yeah, it still amazes me from time to time how much FPS we can get by just introducing DLSS quality mode. That is crazy for some games. In some other games, the performance gains are actually not that great, but in this particular game, damn, from 40 plus to 90 FPS, just by enabling resolution upscaling, sign me up. I like this. Unfortunately, 1% lows are not that great in this game. For some reason, I still can't figure out why. Let me know in the comments if you do know. Maybe I'm doing something wrong because I've tried using NVIDIA's Reflex as well as disabling it. It doesn't really help that much. Here we go. Let's re-enable it and take a look at the difference. Yeah, I think it is worse because 1% lows are actually worse. 63 FPS, 62. Without NVIDIA Reflex, it was a little bit smoother. This is still a pretty good experience because there is 0% stuttering, but damn, it's not as smooth as it could have been. And surprisingly, if we enable frame generation, that choppiness goes away completely. Let's take a look at that. Let's enable frame gen. We're using the 2x frame generation mode, and the experience is so much better. It is so much smoother. And it's not only because we're getting more frames, but because the frame consistency is much better. By the way, ignore the 1% lows, they are not reported correctly. It is quite bizarre, and if you know what is going on, what I'm doing wrong, then let me know in the comments. I would like to fix this issue, but for now, it appears that the only way to actually properly enjoy this game is to enable frame generation to actually get the smoothest experience possible. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 works pretty well on pretty much any GPU, but let's see what kind of performance we can get at native resolution using the experimental graphics quality preset, which is the absolute maximum, and this preset is actually very demanding, very GPU demanding. FOV is set to 100, and we are using NVIDIA's DLAA native anti-aliasing. The game is still pretty playable at 50 plus FPS in this scene. Over here, we're getting 70. Very nice indeed. But it's still not a pleasant experience. I would like to see more FPS in this game because in certain scenes, FPS will drop by a lot. 44 FPS is the lowest number I've seen so far, and even 50 plus FPS doesn't feel nice on the ultra-wide screen. That's why we need to adjust some settings. So let's go ahead and try resolution upscaling set to NVIDIA DLSS 4 quality mode first. And maybe that will be enough, but we'll see. It is looking promising. 70 FPS over here. Yes. Maybe this is actually doable. Will we be able to actually enjoy this game? Oh no, 50 plus. Yeah, not quite. The experimental graphics quality preset is just a little bit too much for the little 5070 to handle at this resolution. Yeah, nearly. So close. Let's bring it back up to native resolution and lower the graphics quality to ultra. Take a look at this. Native resolution, 60 plus FPS, but will we be able to stay at 60 plus all the time? Or will we run into issues once more once we reach a more GPU demanding area over here? Yeah, 60 plus FPS, so there is definitely something in that experimental settings that makes the GPU to not cope with whatever it is in this particular scene. It might be the shadows or the lighting, because there are some elements of ray tracing in the experimental graphics quality preset. So maybe that's it. Maybe there's some optimizations to be made. I'm not sure, but the ultra graphics quality preset is working quite well. Yeah, even at native resolution. And the game looks beautiful using DLSS 4 in native DLAA resolution. Absolutely gorgeous. If I were playing this game on the 5070, I would definitely turn on resolution upscaling. Let's set it to quality mode to boost that FPS even more, because having 90-ish FPS on the screen in this game feels so good, especially on the ultra-wide monitor. And we can still keep it above 80 FPS even in this location right here. Yeah. Which means that we are probably going to see 60 plus FPS even in some of the most demanding scenes, most demanding levels in the game. I don't mind using resolution upscaling at all, because DLSS 4 just looks so good. It preserves the finer details, such as grass and leaves, even in the distance, pretty well. Yes, this is definitely good enough to use, and if you're still skeptical about using resolution upscaling in 2025, then it's time to switch. Yes, it is very much enjoyable, and it's basically free performance for your GPU. Furthermore, if done right, it actually lowers the VRAM usage in some of those VRAM-hungry games. In conclusion, I think it is a good idea to pair the RTX 5070 with an ultra-wide 3440 by 1440p monitor to play the latest games. Because, as you've seen in the video, the 5070 can actually deliver a pleasant experience in the majority of the games, using very high graphics quality settings and even ray tracing in most cases. Sure, it can't do full ray tracing because even the RTX 5090 struggles to do that, but damn, other types of ray tracing that still look very nice indeed? Yeah, easy. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, then don't forget to reward my work with a like, that helps out a lot. And if you haven't already, then subscribe for more videos like this.
If you're interested in any of the products featured in this video, you can find them on Amazon at the links in the description below. It was I, Vadim. Until next time.